everyone. Thank you so much for watching this video to learn more about one of our high school programs at the Marine Mammal Center, which we call Youth Crew. We are so excited to be able to offer this program each year, and we hope you are really excited to learn more about what Youth Crew entails and the role you would play if you were accepted into this program. So to help ensure you understand all aspects of what this 8-month program is comprised of, we do ask that you watch the entire video before starting the application process. If you're watching this video when applications are not open, they do typically open during the summer months. So head back during the summer if you're looking for the applications to be open. But with that, let's get started. So, before we start talking about Youth Crew, and while this video is mostly going to discuss information specific to just Youth Crew, we do also want to share a little bit about the Marine Mammal Center so you know more about the organization you could potentially be volunteering for. So, the center first opened in 1975, and since then we have grown to become the largest marine mammal hospital in the world in terms of patients rescued. We offer Youth Crew in order to invite more people into the ocean health work and to be able to provide teens with the opportunity to help with our mission, which is stated on this slide, and to also grow the conservation field. We need so many folks to help with this work, and we have found that teens are a really great group to make sure that this work is continued in our society. But while we rely on a ton of staff and volunteers for our work, we do also rely on members of the public. We cover 600 miles of California's coast, all the way from Mendocino County in the north to San Luis Obispo in the south, which is a really big range. So by being able to rely on people like you, we can learn when these animals need help and where they are. So if you ever find a marine mammal in need, you can always call our hotline, which is 415-289-SEAL. Additionally, for Youth Crew purposes, Youth Crew will have the opportunity to learn more about our California Rescue and Response Team through workshops, and they also support patients once they've arrived on site and are being admitted, and they'll also load up patients often who are getting ready to be released during their animal care shifts. You'll also see that we have a map of Hawaii, and that's because in 2014 we extended our range even further and we opened a site in Hawaii that is solely focused on helping Hawaiian muck seals. There is a teen program that has started at this site as well, so if you live on the Big Island in Hawaii, you can definitely check that out to learn more. So once we find out about animals in need along that range, our goal is to definitely get them into our care. So similar to a human hospital, our main hospital in Sausalito, which is where Youth Crew will be working, it is fully equipped to support the rehabilitation of our patients. Our satellite sites are our field offices in our northern region, Monterey Bay and San Luis Obispo. They will work to provide shorter term care, but the ultimate goal is to send all of our patients to our main hospital in Sausalito to be able to provide that longer term care. Those field offices that I just listed, they are not open to the public, but our Sausalito hospital is open to the public, and we will talk about that a little more later in this video. Our Hawaii hospital is also fully equipped to take care of those Hawaiian monk seals that I mentioned, and it is another site that is not necessarily open to the public. Since a lot of care is taken once animals arrive to our hospital sites, and we try our best to rehabilitate these patients so that they can be released back into the wild, we want to talk a bit about our rehabilitative practices. We also prioritize teaching folks to know how to care for marine mammals. So we refer to ourselves as a teaching hospital. And with that title, we work with organizations, students, interns, externs, people from all over the world so that this work can be done outside just our range. And Youth Crew play a huge part in rehabilitating our patients. They'll be able to learn from and share learnings with our staff, intern, and adult volunteers and visitors. And they will be working on an animal care crew during the first part of their program, which we will talk about a little bit later. We also have a lot of Youth Crew who stay on this part of our work, this rehabilitative care, after they finish Youth Crew, and they continue growing in this line of our mission. So we've talked a lot about the care that we provide these patients, and we want to talk a little bit more about the types of patients that we care for, or the types of patients you might work with if you do join Youth Crew. So throughout our work and through studying cows from all over the public, we have been able to recognize seasons for different species that we care for, and you can see this shown on this screen here. Our most common patient, the California sea lions, they're seen year-round, but we do have a peak in May through October for seeing them at our specific hospital. Elephant seals are our second most common patient, and their season is typically January to August. And then our youngest and our third most common patients, the harbor seals, have a season beginning late February to early March, and that lasts until August. So with Youth Crew running from January through August, you can see that this program is strategically scheduled to allow youth to grow their skills as we begin receiving more patients in kind of the common season or calmer season. And then they'll see a variety of animals during their time on Animal Care Crew because the peak season for all three species goes up during Youth Crew's time with animal care. In case you don't see marine mammals very often, we did want to just show a couple pictures of them. So these, again, are our top three patients, California sea lions being number one, elephant seals number two, and harbor seals number three. Youth Crew will mostly work with elephant seal pups. They are a better species to learn skills on, but after they finish the program or as they head into the later months, they will have the opportunity to work more closely with some of these other species. Youth may also see some other patients on site throughout the year, and they may be able to work with fur seals, these two animals on the left, if they happen to be on site. We don't always have fur seals on site, but sometimes they are at our hospital, and Youth Crew can care for those as well. This is a patient species that Youth Crew will not work with because these animals can only be found in Hawaii. But the center did take their learnings from caring for elephant seals in California, and a lot of these learnings have allowed us to make a lot of progress in taking care of Hawaiian monk seals in Hawaii. In fact, researchers estimate that about 30% of Hawaiian monk seals are alive today, directly due to conservation efforts from organizations such as the Marine Mammal Center. Hawaiian monk seals also do play a role in Youth Crew in the sense that we work to educate the public in the Bay Area about these animals during Youth Crew's summer portion of the program, because a lot of folks travel to Hawaii for vacation, especially during summer, so it's important for them to know what's going on with this particular animal in the world. And some of these other species we won't see a ton. We do see sea otters occasionally, but they're not a very common patient. We will often work with Monterey Bay Aquarium, who takes pups for their surrogate mother program, and then we'll often take the adults. Cetaceans are a group that we care for a lot at the Marine Mammal Center, but they are not a species that does well being taken out of the ocean. So if we have a cetacean in need, we will often send a boat out to go care for them in the water. And in addition to caring for all these patients while we do a lot of rehabilitation, we are also working at the center to expand our understanding of ocean health for humans and animals alike. And that comes a lot with research. So one example of research that we like to highlight at the Marine Mammal Center is related to something called domoic acid toxicosis. The center diagnosed this case, the first case of domoic acid in marine mammals in 1998. And this condition is caused by harmful algal blooms. It is a neurotoxin that accumulates in small fish like sardines and anchovies. And these small fish are then eaten by larger animals like sea lions, and sea lions eat a lot of small fish. So domoic acid will accumulate in their bodies and it will affect their brains. But it does not only affect marine mammals, it is also something that can affect humans who eat contaminated crabs, shellfish, and fish. And it is a condition that we as humans call amnesiac shellfish poisoning. But since sea lions are often the first to be affected by a toxic algal bloom, the center actually provides that data to the public health department when poisonings are detected, and the public health officials can then determine whether seafood warnings should be issued so that humans don't get sick, and it allows scientists to better understand local ecosystem health. Youth Crew don't have necessarily a direct component of research for their work, but they will have the opportunity to shadow our research team during the summer. It's a great way for them to start seeing if this is a type of career path they're interested in. And they will also talk a lot about what our center does for research during their summer portion of the program. So with so much going on at the hospital, obviously our ultimate goal is to release these animals back into the wild so that they can have a second chance at life. And we also want to make sure that we are educating others about what is happening to these animals at our hospital and in the ocean so more folks can help the conservation cause. We will share that releases are a really exciting and emotional part of our work at the hospital, and Youth Crew will have the opportunity to attend releases, and they'll also be educating folks during the whole summer portion of their program, which we will talk about a little bit later. So that was just a brief overview of the center with some little tidbits about how Youth Crew relates to those components of our mission. But now we're going to dive deeper into the finer details of Youth Crew. So you just got a chance to learn about all of the work and dedication our hospital puts into caring for marine mammals, but let's talk about what it requires for Youth Crew. So Youth Crew does require a lot of dedication. It is a lot of hard work, and therefore we're always looking for youth who are ready to just jump in and give it their all. We really like to highlight that we're looking for youth who have an ability to speak up when needed, and also youth who are able to listen when needed. So having that balance of both. It is really important at the Marine Mammal Center for all staff and volunteers to own up to mistakes and learn from them. Working with marine mammals is not a skill that we expect folks to have. Working with visitors is not a skill we expect folks to have. So we all need to emphasize that we are learning and growing and be comfortable in those environments. Youth Crew will also be working a ton with adults in every single part of this program. So being able and comfortable to work with folks who might be older than you is going to be really crucial for success in this program. And as I mentioned, with marine mammals, we're not expecting you to have any sort of prior experience. So please do not hesitate to apply to this program if you've never worked with any type of animal. Don't hesitate to apply to this program if you've never talked to visitors or folks about topics like climate change. We are going to train you on everything you need to know. We especially like emphasizing having a diverse group of people who may have more or less experience than others because everyone has really unique insights that are helping to improve our programs year after year. And since we've been running Youth Crew for over a decade, we have done a lot of research about this program. So through this research and running this program, we have found that youth come into this program with some of these 10 leadership skills that are listed on this page. But our goal is mainly that Youth Crew members all grow in each of these 10 skills. And this is going to be a component of being part of Youth Crew, which is reflecting and thinking about where you are or are not progressing, where you have strengths, where you have areas of growth for these 10 items. These skills we have found are really fundamental to effectively work in this line of work, whether you're choosing to continue on as a volunteer or if you're pursuing this type of work for a future career path. If you have these 10 items ready to go when you finish Youth Crew, you're going to be a really successful person in the conservation field. And so, with this field having so many components to it, and with this program being so unique for people under 18, we do have some fairly strict requirements regarding your age if you're interested in Youth Crew. So, on the lower end, you need to be at least 15 when you apply. So, when you click submit on our website for your application, you need to be 15 at the time you submit that document. On the other end, if you are 18 and still in high school, you are still considered a youth at the Marine Mammal Center, so you would need to apply for Youth Crew. The center considers an adult volunteer somebody who is both 18 and outside of high school. So 15 to 18 range is the age range that we accept for the Youth Crew program. And this is not something that we can make exceptions for, so we really appreciate your understanding about the age range we do have to require. Youth Crew also has two components to the program that we are going to cover a lot more later, but we do want to emphasize that we are looking for teens who are excited about both animal care and public engagement, not just one component of the program. Both components are required. Both are equally important to navigating the conservation field. So we do want to ensure that any youth who volunteers or applies for this program is ready to complete their animal care portion and their public engagement portion. We do also like to share that this is a fairly competitive program, and hopefully you are starting to see that this program is a pretty large commitment. So in addition to those age requirements, we also have requirements in place to ensure that youth are reliable additions to their animal care and public engagement crews. So as I mentioned on the last slide, both parts of our program, they are equally valued, even though they might have differences in time lengths. So please make sure you are ready to fully dedicate yourself to animal care and public education and engagement from January all the way through August. And we do also want to share that the Marine Mammal Center is in a quite unique place. So at this time, we are not able to provide transportation for anyone. So one requirement to applying to this program is that you have a plan to get to your weekly shifts at our hospital in Sausalito, specifically in the Marin Headlands. There is a lack of public transportation available to the center at this time, and due to you being under 18, rideshare is not an option. Plus, with the hours, rideshare is often not picking up or dropping folks off during shift hours. With us being in national park land, we do also restrict that folks cannot bike to and from their shifts. It is an area with a lot of wildlife. You're either coming to your shift when it's dark out or you're leaving your shift when it's dark out, so we do not permit biking. Parents or guardians are welcome to drive you if you have folks in your family who are over 18 who are willing to drive you, or if you are able to drive yourself. Those are the key areas where we have found folks have had success getting to and from the center. If you find someone on your shift who is willing to carpool, that is definitely something we get excited about as an organization focusing on conservation, but you cannot solely rely on carpooling. So if your carpool can't make it, you need to have a backup plan ready to go to make sure you can still make it to your shift. And with all that, if you are accepted into youth crew, attendance is definitely a crucial part of making it through the program. So you are asked to attend all of your weekly shifts from January through August. We ask that you attend your full shifts because leaving early or arriving late to a shift can cause a lot more work and stress for your crew. We also ask you to consider weekends versus weekdays and holidays. Our patients don't know what holidays are and they need care 365 days per year. So if you're on a crew, especially a weekend crew like a Sunday day crew, and it is a holiday, your crew is still going to need you to attend, or you can use one of your absences, which we'll talk about in a second. So with absences, we do ask that you not miss more than 3 shifts during your animal care portion, and we ask that you not miss more than 1 shift during your public engagement portion. We also have a note about missing consecutive shifts because if you're missing multiple shifts in a row, you're likely going to fall a bit behind other youth in your team, and it is sometimes difficult for crews to be able to catch folks up. So we want to make sure that you can get as much work and skills developed as possible. And so avoiding missing consecutive shifts is going to be really, really important. We do understand that you have other things going on in your life, so that is why we do have those absence components. If you are sick or there is a family emergency, that is not going to count against you. But we really want you to just think about whether you have capacity to include a program like Youth Crew in your current busy schedule. We also ask, especially for summer, while summer is a really great time to travel, you are still going to be asked to attend 8 public engagement shifts throughout the summer. So if your family is already talking about something like a month-long vacation, you're likely not going to have the ability to complete Youth Crew successfully. So we ask that you apply next year. There are also trainings that are going to be taking place in January and June. Those dates are already on our website, so please make sure before you apply that those dates are ready and accessible for you and your family to make sure that you are able to attend. We are a really small team in our high school programs group at the Marine Mammal Center, so we can only offer those trainings and events on those dates that we have set in the website. We set them before youth crew applications are due so that you can see them before you apply and make sure that they all work, but we are not able to offer any alternatives to these mandatory events. And missing these mandatory events may result in your removal from the program. So please make sure if you are really serious about Youth Crew that you have all of those dates on our website noted and confirmed with your parents and guardians that they will be possible for you to attend if you get accepted into the program. And then the last mandatory part of our program is our symposium event. It is our culminating event. It is the last day of the program, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. So with attendance being the base requirement, we also have another component that we really emphasize for successful completion of Youth Crew, and that is communication. Communication is a huge part of the Youth Crew program. It is probably the part that youth struggle with and grow in the most during their time at the Marine Mammal Center. And we share this because you're going to have different forms of communication depending on who you're trying to communicate with. So each of your crews are going to have their own form of communication. That may be an email, Google spreadsheets, a group me. Your youth crew leads will also be connecting with you frequently to check in. We'll be asking questions, confirming your shifts, and providing you updates. And then there are also going to be components on an online portal. So we're going to ask that you check your online portal weekly to complete some tasks and make sure you are up to date on what is being asked of the Youth Crew program. The center also has policies that are going to be listed on the application, so please make sure you read through those thoroughly so that you can uphold those components of the program before you submit. Like I said, communication is a really big area that a lot of folks are growing in, but it is something that you are definitely going to be needing to be comfortable communicating a lot in order to make sure you can succeed in this program. So to kind of wrap up those components in a little neat-ish bow, we really just want to overall emphasize two key components, which is that if you want to apply to this program, we ask that you are consistent, but also flexible so that we can ensure we have a smooth 8 months together. So consistency is definitely going to relate to being consistent attending your shifts, being consistent communicating with all those groups that I mentioned, including going on that online portal, consistently growing and progressing and asking for feedback to make sure that you're moving along in your skill sets effectively, and consistently attending any additional events that you sign up for. But we are a hospital and we are a engagement facility where visitors are coming from all over the world and we may not know who they are or what they're looking for. So we are going to ask that you are flexible on those day-to-day shifts. Something new might pop up that is unplanned during your shift, and we're going to need to adapt to make sure that we can care for these animals or help those visitors in the way that we need. We also ask that, again, with Youth Crew being such a huge commitment, you are flexible with your schedule to make sure you can adhere to those attendance requirements that we listed on an earlier slide. And hopefully you're starting to see a theme with one word coming up a lot in this presentation, which is the word commitment. So Youth Crew is a huge commitment, and with that, there are some hour components to this program. So for animal care from January through June, you're going to have a weekly 4 to 9 hour shifts, depending on which shift you sign up for. And then in the summer, you're going to have 4 hour public engagement shifts. Additionally, some youth choose to continue animal care during the summer, plus their public engagement crews. This is not a requirement. You are only required to do animal care January through June and only required to do public engagement June through August. But some folks love working with the animals so much that they choose to add that on during the summer portion. Depending on what you choose for your structure, you can expect to gain about 100 or more hours of volunteering through this program. So hopefully that helps you kind of get a better sense of what this program is asking of you and whether or not you can fit it into your schedule. We do ask that you talk with your families to make sure that everyone is on board to support you through such an intensive program. It takes a whole family to get through Youth Crew, and we love when folks have support of their family members to get through and make sure it's a productive and successful time of your life. We do also know that schools offer folks to get credits for volunteer hours, whether it's just to complete a graduation requirement or if you have an internship opportunity through school. And we are, of course, happy to help you through that if that is something you're looking into. But it is not a reason to apply to Youth Crew. So if the only reason you're looking into Youth Crew is to get volunteer hours, this program is going to be very difficult, is that if that is your only motivation. So think of the hours as a great bonus, but do not think of them as the reason to apply to Youth Crew. Alrighty, so let's start diving into what these Youth Crew components are like. And we're gonna go chronologically. So let's start by thinking about what it is like on Animal Care Crew. It really depends on who you ask because every crew is so different, but let's think about some things that are going to be common across all crews. The first thing that is going to apply is your hours. So on the application, you are able to list which crews you are interested in joining. And day crews are definitely longer than night crews, and there are some differences depending on which night crew you want to sign up for. These crew shifts are posted on our website as well as here for you to reference, and it's also on the application for you to reference so that you know which hours are expected on the items that you're checking off on the application. So we've got 3 different types of animal care shift lengths. We have a day crew, which for those of you who have a more traditional high school schedule, this would likely only be Saturday and Sunday day crews. Those start at 7 a.m. and they go to 4 p.m. with breaks and lunches included in that time frame. If you have a non-traditional high school schedule, for example, if you're homeschooled or you have an internship opportunity through your school and you can make a weekday work, you would also have this same time limit for your shifts. If you are looking more into a night crew, if you have school the next day, so we're thinking about Sunday night through Thursday night crews, those shifts are going to be from about 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. And then for those shifts on night crews where you don't have school the next day, so those Friday and Saturday night crews, you will be asked to go to your shift from 6 p.m. until midnight. These hours do vary, depend on patient load. So in the slower season, in those first couple of months, you're probably going to leave early if your supervisor allows it. But once our patient count picks up, we do ask that you expect to stay the entire time and be ready to be very busy during that entire time. We can get up to 100 patients, over 100 patients during our peak season. So it's a lot of work, and our teams rely on everyone to be able to work together and move through a lot of tasks in a short couple of hours. During busy season, some crews also ask that folks arrive before some of these listed start times, so please be flexible in chatting with your supervisors to make sure you're able to come when they are asking. But the one key thing to keep in mind is that you cannot stay past the end time. So no matter what crew you're on, please do not stay past 4 p.m., 10 p.m., or midnight for any of your shifts. And with animal care, there are a lot of considerations to keep in place. These are some considerations that some of our alumni or current youth crew folks have shared with us. So things to keep in mind depending on what crew you want to sign up for might include commute length. The Bay Area is full of a lot of traffic and different commute directions, so make sure you're accounting for those when you're choosing your crew. If you are choosing a day crew, make sure you are a morning person. It is a very early arrival time. And also make sure you have the endurance to make it through a much longer shift length. You're going to progress through skills a lot quicker than the night crew folks because you're essentially doing 2 shifts for every one of theirs. So it can be really tiring, but it can be really rewarding to get to work with those patients for longer periods of time each week. For my night folks, make sure you are night owls because your shifts are ending at 10 o'clock or midnight, depending on your crew. And you can get tired during those later hours, and it does get dark, but we do have lights in our pens. For those of you signing up for weekend shifts, weekends are really nice because you don't have school, but there are also times of the week where you're probably planning a lot of things with friends and family. So make sure if you are choosing a weekend shift that you are able to prioritize that shift each week and make sure you're able to attend consistently each week. I mentioned this before, but holidays our patients don't know about. So we do ask volunteers and staff to still come to their shifts on holidays to make sure that our animals are still cared for. And other things in your life, like personal plans and such, make sure you're thinking about how many you've got ready to go for this year and that you don't have to go over that 3 maximum absence limit for animal care crew. You are also going to be in school during this portion of the program, so think about busy times of the year like AP testing, studying for finals. A lot of folks have chosen to use their absences to be able to study for those or prep for final school things, and they found a lot of success making sure that they save some absences for that time of the year so that they can finish youth crew and also be successful in school. And with you spending so much time on an animal care crew at the center, you're going to be learning a lot of skills. So at the beginning of this program, you're going to definitely start with the basics, which is the same thing we have our adult volunteers starting with, and that is a lot of cleaning. We are a hospital, so sanitization is really crucial and a very big aspect of our work. But as you continue to gain skill sets, show initiative, show independence, and proficiency in those skills, your supervisor is likely going to progress you to some higher skills. We do emphasize your crew supervisor because it is always up to them how you progress and what you progress to. So having those conversations with your supervisors, making sure they know what your goals are, making sure you know what their goals are and what their capacity is going to make for a very successful time on your team. Experience is going to look different for every single person in youth crew. You might be doing things differently than other youth crew on your crew. You might be doing things differently than youth crew outside of your crew. Everyone's going to go at their own pace dependent on your preferences, your crew supervisor's capacity and preferences. But whatever pace you go, we're going to make sure that it's moving along at the pace that we ask for youth crew. So please do not feel uncomfortable if you are hearing that some youth crew are ahead of you on other crews or behind you. Those are conversations we can always have throughout the program. So that was a brief overview of the animal care portion, which is January through June. But now let's talk about the summer portion, your June through August portion, which we call your public engagement crew. Public engagement is part of the youth crew program because research has shown that teens are really effective in communicating about conservation. It's also really crucial that more people learn how to effectively discuss and understand important topics related to our ocean. And we found that our visitors become really excited and inspired when they hear from youth crew. This part of the program is also after animal care crew because we found that the stories youth crew can share about their animal care experience with these summer visitors adds so much to those interactions, and folks get really passionate about this work when they hear what teens are able to do at the center. Storytelling is going to be a very key part of engaging folks during this part of the program, and we have found that youth crew members have inspired a lot of change in our visitors over the years. In terms of what a shift might be like, you're going to be tabling throughout our Sausalito Hospital in various areas that visitors visit when they come to our center. But the day-to-day is going to vary in a similar way that the day-to-day is going to vary on animal care crew, where we might not know what types of patients are going to come into our care on animal care crew. With public engagement, we don't know what types of visitors are going to come to our hospital each day. So you might see a lot of kids, you might see a lot of adults, you might see a really good mix of all different age groups. And we will definitely train you on how to best interpret and work with folks of all different ages and backgrounds. We do emphasize that while animal care crew is a more physically demanding portion of this program, the public engagement portion of your youth crew experience is a little bit more mentally demanding. So if you are an introvert with a social battery limit, we have found a lot of success with our introverts, but just making sure you're ready to go and that you're keeping track of your social battery during your shifts over summer. And like I shared, you're going to be tabling throughout our hospital, and some of the topics that you're going to be talking about include things like climate change, sustainable seafood, ocean trash, our cetacean work that doesn't necessarily show up in the same way at our hospital as our pinniped work. We change our table themes a little bit each year to make sure that our information and action recommendations are current and relevant to the time. But those are some examples of past topics that we have talked about during the summer portion of education shifts. And just like animal care crew, we do have shift time limits for you all during the summer. So conservation ambassador shifts are going to take place on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Those are the days when our hospital is open for public to come visit. And because this portion takes place during summer, your public engagement shifts may be a different day or time than when your animal care shift was, because you're not necessarily going to be going to school as you do during the animal care portion. Like I mentioned earlier, some youth do continue on animal care in addition to their public engagement crews during the summer. This is optional. We will make sure your shift doesn't coincide with animal care crew if you are choosing to do both, but we do ask you to prioritize the public engagement shifts at the most during summer, as that is the required portion of the program during that time of year. Each year, our team also tries to determine if there are alternative summer opportunities beyond just tabling at the center. So if you are accepted into youth crew and our team is able to secure alternative opportunities to replace your tabling shifts, we will share about them in the spring. This is never guaranteed, so please just make sure you are prepared to do conservation ambassador shifts. Make sure the structure works for you and your family over summer, so that you can be successful whether or not we are able to offer any alternative opportunities. And just like animal care, we have asked our alumni and current youth crew members for some things that they would have liked to consider more deeply before they applied to this program. So the things that they mostly shared is thinking about your summer break. When does it start? When does it end? How does that coincide with your shifts that you are asking for? What vacations and family plans that you have are going to make sure that you can still do this part of the program and also have a break and relax during such a nice time of year. They also really like to emphasize the commute. So The commute can get a little bit difficult during summer because a lot of folks are trying to head into the Marin Headlands, and we have a 5-minute tunnel that is a one-way light tunnel. So just making sure that you are able to adjust your commute length to account for summer traffic to and from the Marin Headlands. And we do just want to remind y'all that this is a very competitive program. So while some folks might be thinking about animal care and education and public engagement in different ways, we want to remind you to make sure that you are able to prioritize and be really excited about both portions, because both portions are really going to help make sure that more folks and more animals are cared for on this planet. And then the last key program component that we have for Youth Crew is our symposium event. This is our concluding event. This is when you are going to be presenting on your experience and learnings from animal care or public engagement and coming up with your own project idea, which you will learn more about during summer training if you are accepted into Youth Crew. And then we're going to be asking that you work on your symposium projects during that summer. Some folks work on them during lulls on their public engagement training shifts. Some folks work on them outside of their shifts and take time at home to prioritize them. But you are going to be asked to spend about an hour per week in addition to your animal care and public education shifts to make sure that you can finish up your symposium project. So beyond your animal care, your public engagement shifts, and your symposium event, there are also some other components about Youth Crew that we would like to talk a little bit more about. We've mentioned a little bit about trainings. As a reminder, those are all mandatory and all of those dates are already set on our website, so make sure to look at those before you apply. But some additional optional components to Youth Crew include workshops and events and also field trips. While folks may not have time in their schedule to go to all of these, they are components of this program that we encourage you to attend when you have the ability, because it'll make the Youth Crew experience a lot more full and allow you some new opportunities. So let's talk about trainings first. Again, these are mandatory components to the Youth Crew program, and there are going to be 2 sets of trainings. So in January, you are going to be doing your animal care and Youth Crew orientation training. This is going to include some pre-work before training. First day is going to mostly focus on, great, you're in Youth Crew, what does that entail? And then the second day is mostly going to focus on you learning some basic animal care skills and training so that you're ready to go shift 1 with your crew. And then in June, you're going to be doing a public engagement training. There will similarly be some pre-work before that training. But during that weekend, you're mostly going to focus on the center's specific communication, customer service, and interpretation tactics. And it's going to be a chance for you to practice a lot. So once again, you're ready to go on your first shift. Please make sure if you are applying to Youth Crew that you can attend both of these trainings during the entirety of each weekend, because you do risk removal from the program if you are not able to come to all training weekends. Moving on to those optional components of the Youth Crew program that we mentioned, the first one we would like to highlight is team events. So Youth Crew get very close with other youth on their animal care crew and public engagement crews, but that does not entail all of our Youth Crew members in a cohort year. So these team events are a chance to meet people outside of your crews, make friends, talk to other folks who are passionate about conservation, because each year we have so many Youth Crew members talk about how they want to meet other youth who are passionate about this work. And this is a really great space at our team events to be able to find those folks. We do offer also a variety of workshops throughout the entire Youth Crew 8 months. So while we are not able to offer the same exact types of workshops each year, these are a couple that we like to highlight as an example of what you might be able to expect you being able to join if you are accepted into the program. So one example is our career development workshop. This is a chance to work on your resume, practice interview skills, and learn how to network in such an important field of conservation work. We also have a rescue and response workshop typically each year where youth can learn how our rescue teams go out to get animals from the wild and how to also safely release them and figure out all the skills needed for that aspect of our work. Youth can also meet with our researchers and learn how to make blood samples, take water quality testing, and just also learn about ongoing research at the center through our clinical lab workshops. Another workshop we typically offer is clinical animal care. So this is a time where youth crew get to participate in what our vets and vet techs call rounds each day, which is a chance to check on patient status, whether that be an admin exam, a release exam, or other types of exams our patients have during their time in our hospital. While this next workshop is definitely a more difficult type of workshop to navigate with necropsies, which is when a patient passes away and we dissect them to learn more about what caused them to pass away and how we can use those learnings for current and future patients. This is also a really helpful and important aspect of our work. So it is really cool that our teams are able to offer this to youth crew who are wanting to get into this field or wanting to learn more about this field, because we have learned a lot through these necropsies to make our current and future patients more successful at being able to be released. So while this is a sad part of our work, it is a very, very crucial part of our work that we want to make sure youth crew are aware of if they're interested in going into this field. And the last component we're going to be highlighting is field trips. So each year we try to take our youth crew cohorts out to other organizations that have team programs similar to ours, where we'll do a little swap, have our team go to them, have their team come to us so we can learn and grow throughout the Bay Area. And then we'll also try to at least once a year visit marine mammals that are healthy out in the wild. So on the left, you can see a boat trip we took with some folks. And in the distance, you can see a healthy whale out there that they were able to see, which is always really nice. When you're working in a hospital, you're going to see a lot of sick and injured patients. So it's nice to reset and think about how many healthy animals are out in our oceans that can be adding to our ecosystem effectively. So with all of those components, our hope is that you make it to August, you're really excited about all the work that you've done at the center, and you're wanting to continue. So everyone who graduates and completes the requirements for Youth Crew will become what we call Youth Crew alumni. And as alumni, you are already really experienced, so you're going to have new opportunities open up to you if you're wanting to continue with your work at the center. So we have options for you to mentor incoming youth, stay on your topside crew for animal care crews, and learn more skills, work with more patients. You will be able to join a harbor seal crew, which is a species that you won't really work with during your animal care. So you'll get to experience working with those animals more. You can join a public engagement crew working with our visitors in a more robust way at different spaces at our center. And then we always love to have alumni come back for special events, whether that be our training weekends with new youth crew members or heading out into the public to get more people aware about the work that we do. So now you know hopefully a lot more about the Youth Crew program than you did before starting this video, and you've decided that you want to apply. But how do you do that? Let's go through some of the key steps that it takes to get accepted into Youth Crew. So as a reminder, all the dates for all of these steps are already on our website, so please make sure to go check there. But the first step is going to be completing our online application. That is going to include some essay or video response questions. We are leaving it up to you how you would like to submit your responses and what format. Each application is also only considered complete once a teacher or supervisor recommendation has been sent to our team. So please make sure you are asking your teachers or supervisors early to give them ample notice before the deadline so that they can give you a solid recommendation. The application does include two components that are going to require submission items. So the first one is the volunteer waiver, which does ask for insurance information. Our hospital does require that all volunteers have their own form of insurance. So just make sure you've got that information ready to go to fill out that document. And then we do also require all volunteers to have COVID vaccinations. That is usually considered 2 shots. Boosters are recommended, but not required. Once you have finished your online application and once the deadline passes, our entire team is going to take time to evaluate each application, and a subset of this group is going to be sent on to individual interviews. These are going to take place on Zoom online, and it'll just be a short 10-ish minute interview with my team to make sure that we learn a little bit more about you and clarify any information from your application that we had questions about. From there, we will evaluate those who made it to that interview phase, and we will invite a subset of that group to group interviews. These are going to be in person at the Marine Mammal Center, and they are going to entail you working with a handful of other applicants through various tasks to see how you navigate our animal care realm, our public engagement realm, and how you navigate working with folks your age and folks maybe older than you. From there, our team will evaluate those participants and we will be deciding who is accepted into the program. So after that, if you are accepted, you will receive an email sharing both that you've been invited to join Youth Crew and also specifically what crew we are inviting you to join for the animal care portion of the program. That typically takes place all in November, and then you'll have a little bit of time off before our program officially starts in January with our orientation weekend. So as I have mentioned before, this is a fairly competitive program. And since you've made it through this much of the video so far, we do have a couple tips on the screen for you to consider when you are applying. There are some items that we've learned from reviewing applications. There's some learnings from Youth Crew who have shared their experience with us. And we all just want to work to better prepare you for embarking on this application experience. So the main thing we really want to remind folks of is that you need to be careful and take your time with the application. There's a lot of writing on the application so that we can make sure you have the context you need to respond to our questions. But that writing can be overwhelming for folks. So applications are typically open for at least 2 months each year. And that is so you can kind of space out your application process so you don't get overwhelmed. And you can take the time you need to fully dedicate to responding to those questions to the best of your abilities. We also want to remind you to talk with your families to make sure everyone's on board to support your completion of this program. As I mentioned before, it takes a team to make sure you're able to dedicate to the time needed to work on Youth Crew. And another reminder is that past experience is not necessary. As I shared before, we really want people with all different backgrounds and experiences to join our team because whether or not you have experience, you're going to have really great ideas and insights for other folks to learn and grow from. And you're going to be able to learn and grow from other folks' experiences as well. So having different team members helps make our whole unit a lot stronger. I do want to share that we get about 100 applications per year, and historically we've been able to accept about 25 to 35 members based on what our crew needs in that given year. So with this, unfortunately, not everyone who applies is going to be accepted into this program, but we want to share that we don't want you to take this rejection as a failure if you do not get in. This program is really competitive. We have to make some really difficult decisions. It does not mean anything about you if you're not accepted in a year. If you're really passionate about this work, we encourage you to apply again another year, learn and grow, work with us at different programs, ask us for feedback. We hate having to make those difficult decisions, but it is an aspect of working in conservation work. It's a very competitive field. So this is a great way to learn in a lower stakes environment about navigating that competitiveness. And for my supporters who are watching this video, we do just like to shout out that we love supportive parents and guardians, but we also find that Youth Crew allows a lot of growth opportunities for those teens. So in the application process, if we have teens asking us questions and emailing us, if we have those folks taking initiative to sign up and attend our Q&A sessions, it's a really great way for us to start to see that initiative and leadership and get to know those teens better. So we do ask that parents and guardians not lead communications. It will become very apparent during Youth Crew what we do need to get from adults and from the Youth Crew unit. So we will always reach out to parents and guardians with needs and permissions, but the day-to-day communications are really going to just be with your youth. And for those of you who could not do Youth Crew without financial compensation, there are yearly stipend opportunities for participating in this program. So our website and our application will be updated each year with specific details about what stipends we're able to offer in that given year. So we definitely encourage you to check those out or email us if you have questions about what is being offered. So while I just shared a little bit about how to apply and potentially get into Youth Crew, I do just want to remind you of the timeline of what to expect if you get into youth crew. So again, the program starts in January. You need to attend all trainings. Those dates are already listed on our website. You have to make sure you can adhere to those 3 max absences for animal care crew and 1 max absence for public engagement crew, and ensuring that you're not taking those consecutive absences. There are also going to be check-ins, surveys, emails, texts from youth crew leads and supervisors, so making sure you have the capacity to virtually and face-to-face communicate with us in needed instances. You'll be able to sign up for those workshops and events that you're interested in attending, and making sure that you are able to work on your summer symposium project in addition to your public engagement crew. Because then in August, the youth crew leads are going to wrap up the program, talk about any alumni opportunities you're interested in, and you will have successfully completed youth crew in your year. But we do understand that youth crew is a lot. It's an 8-month commitment with a lot of hour and communication requirements. And we understand that that's not something that everyone can make the commitment for. We also understand that we cannot accept everyone into youth crew each year. But our team would still really love to work with you. So we do want to share a little bit about one of our other high school programs, which is Stewardship Saturday. Stewardship Saturdays typically occur once per month. They are free events that occur along our 600-mile range. And every month we try to switch it up. We try to partner with other organizations or work in different fields of conservation so that we can better understand how ocean health is important for everyone and every living thing. So we would love to see you on some Stewardship Saturday events. Every month we update our website with what the next month's events are going to entail. So we encourage you to check out that portion of our website when you are able to. And last but not least, we do encourage you to check out our website to register for a live Q&A. We understand that while this video is long, some questions might pop up that we were not able to answer in this video. So when applications are live, there will be a couple of virtual or in-person Q&A sessions throughout the summer and early fall. And if you have questions or just want to learn more from others, we definitely recommend you try to come to at least one of those. Regardless of whether or not you choose to go to a Q&A, we also encourage that you try to make the drive to the center at least once to see what your commute would be like, see what the roads are like to navigate from your home to the center. It's definitely a great practice to make sure you learn before applying to the program because, again, the Marine Mammal Center is in a very unique spot in the Marine Headlands. But with all that, if you have any questions that you still have that you're not able to get answered at our Q&A sessions, you are able to email us at youthcrew@tmmc.org whenever needed. We really hope to see you apply and hope to talk with you soon. Have a great day. Bye.